International Humanitarian Law, IHL, also known as the Law of Armed Conflict or the Laws of War, is a set of rules and principles designed to protect people who are not or are no longer participating in hostilities during armed conflicts. Here are the main features of IHL. Humanitarian Purpose. IHL aims to minimize the suffering caused by armed conflicts, and protect the fundamental human rights of individuals affected by such conflicts. Applicability. IHL applies in times of armed conflict, whether international or non-international, internal conflicts, and regulates the behavior of both state and non-state actors. Principle of distinction. IHL requires parties to distinguish between combatants and civilians. Deliberate targeting of civilians is prohibited. Proportionality. Parties to a conflict must ensure that the anticipated military advantage of an attack is not outweighed by the expected harm to civilians and civilian objects. Precautionary measures. Belligerents must take all feasible precautions to protect civilians and civilian objects, and minimize incidental harm during military operations. Protection of non-combatants. IHL provides special protection to certain categories of individuals, such as the wounded, sick, shipwrecked, and prisoners of war. Treatment of detainees. Rules governing the treatment and conditions of detainees, including prisoners of war, are outlined in IHL. Prohibition of torture and inhumane treatment. IHL strictly prohibits torture, cruel, inhuman, or degrading treatment or punishment of persons in the hands of a party to the conflict. Humanitarian access. IHL requires parties to allow the delivery of humanitarian assistance to affected populations, especially during armed conflicts. Protection of cultural and religious property. IHL prohibits the deliberate targeting of cultural, religious, and historical sites and objects. Protection of medical and relief personnel. Medical personnel, as well as humanitarian relief workers, are to be respected and protected when providing care and assistance during conflicts. Legal framework. IHL is based on a body of international treaties, including the Geneva Conventions and their additional protocols, as well as customary international law enforcement mechanisms. IHL violations can be prosecuted at both the national and international levels, including through international criminal tribunals. Responsibility to ensure respect. States and non-state actors involved in conflicts have an obligation to ensure respect for IHL by their forces or groups. My questions to the world. Why these rules for? For the human or alien?